But I think that's a very valid question, and I think that's also where there's different conceptions what the right kind of approach here is. And because there's basically two basic approaches that you can take. You either basically say, okay, I only get involved with people that help me now directly in a certain way, or I help a lot of people, or try to connect with a lot of people, not really knowing what will come out of it. Yeah. And also willing to give something into a relationship without really knowing whether you get something out of it. And I think there's these two poles of networking. One is like really utility driven, short term, and one is more like an open source sharing. I share something, I don't really know what comes back kind of approach. And those two, I think you have to decide what you want to do. I think both is valid in a certain way, and I think it also depends on your personality, what fits you better, because I think people will feel whether you're an authentic networker in this or this direction, or you're not. Yeah? And if you're not the type of open source sharing type person and you try to be it, I think it often breaks through that you're not really. And I think you have to find your authentic way of networking that fits your personality. It's the same thing, like you have to find your authentic way of directing a company. Not everybody is like the perfect micromanager. If you're not the perfect micromanager, you shouldn't be doing it, and you should not try to build an organization like that. So the same thing with networking. I think long term, the more beneficial and the more fun of networking is the right hand approach, like in the sense of more being open source, sharing minded. And my experience is, because a lot of people, why should I help this person? I don't know if something comes back. Yeah, that's true. My experience is, if you're really helping people without demanding anything, not every time something comes back, but it's like often things come back, and I've been in a lot of situations where I needed help from somebody else, and I always tried to be very, the problem for me today is I cannot help everybody that comes here and wants some kind of help so I would spend like 14 hours a day if I do all that, but I always try to be as helpful as I possibly can and demanding as little as I possibly can. First of all, because I think it fits my personality, and I think midterm it really helps you to be in a network where you have like some kind of social capital built up over time. And I think that you cannot really account for it in a certain way, but a lot of doors, that's at least my experience, will open if you behave this way. And if you look at more developed networks that have been around, or entrepreneurial networks that have been around a lot longer, like, a lot of people talk about, wow, Silicon Valley, we have to become like Silicon Valley. But I think one of the main characteristics that you'll see in West Coast internet software entrepreneurship community ecosystem in the US is there's a lot more people with this sharing type of attitude that you find here. And I think they're not doing that because the US American is per se the better person. They do that for a reason. Yeah, because they probably made the experience that this way the overall ecosystem progresses, but also the personal role in the ecosystem becomes stronger and it benefits them personally. So, and I think that's always a very good indication if you look at more advanced ecosystems, what kind of approaches have been dominant there or have developed as being the dominant approach. I mean, there's probably some reason for that, and that's why I would say, sure, I mean, coming back to the original, you cannot be unauthentic in networking. You have to decide what you want to do. But if you lean more towards the sharing, open source type approach, I think you're better off doing that midterm, even though if it's not short-term benefit of yours. Yeah.